50 years ago, we could do a 3-page scene in 20 minutes. We could rehearse it and memorize it and shoot it in 20 minutes.
Not too long ago, you were on the stage with Ron Howard.
I was.
Some friendships hide a complexity that only time can reveal. What happens when the bond between two Hollywood icons is tested by fame, rivalry, and personal sacrifice? One of television's most enduring partnerships wasn't just about shared success. It was shaped by unspoken struggles and surprising choices that few would have predicted. Imagine walking away from a newfound opportunity that could have made you the star overnight, only to protect the group you cared about most. This is the untold story behind Henry Winkler's silence about Ron Howard, spanning 50 years of loyalty, conflict, and ultimately, profound understanding. Hidden conflict behind the fame. At first glance, Henry Winkler and Ron Howard's friendship looks like a Hollywood dream come true. Two actors on a hit television show sharing laughs, long memories, and the kind of chemistry that made Happy Days soar. Yet, beneath the surface, there was an undercurrent of tension, fueled by shifting roles and unspoken feelings that neither was ready to name. This wasn't just about friendship. It was a balancing act between ambition, loyalty, and the fear of losing something precious. The story that fans know is only the final frame of a much more complicated picture. As the show gained popularity, Henry Winkler's character, Fonzy, unexpectedly became the breakout star. Audiences cheered wildly when Fonzy stepped on screen, his simple thumbs-up gesture turning into a cultural phenomenon. Meanwhile, Ron Howard had been the original lead, the face the network expected to carry the series. Suddenly, the dynamics on set were changing in ways that created invisible pressure. The very success that brought joy also planted seeds of unease, stirring feelings that neither man fully voiced. This quiet tension went on in the background while the cameras rolled and the public adored the cast. Both Winkler and Howard were navigating their own ambitions, trying to keep their friendship intact under scrutiny. It was a friendship tested by fame's shifting spotlight, where each man's success felt entwined yet separate. This complexity isn't the stuff of tabloid drama. It was real, human, and rarely shared outside close circles. The roots of this struggle stretched deeper than the show's surface, waiting to be understood. Even within the tight-knit production, certain discussions were off-limits or avoided. The question of who truly carried the show was there but unspoken. Network executives whispered about renaming the program, and even minor decisions stirred major personal reactions. Behind smiles and camaraderie lay a brewing conflict about recognition and respect. The tension was never a simple rivalry, but a delicate dance balancing ego, loyalty, and professional survival. Both men faced this challenge in their own ways. Winkler was buoyed by the affection viewers showed for Fonzy, but he understood what it meant to potentially overshadow his co-star. Howard, meanwhile, wrestled with the threat to the role that had defined his young career. Their choices about how to react shaped not only the show's future, but their decades-long relationship. Despite the drama, neither wanted to fracture what they had built together. What happened next would reveal the depth of their bond and their commitment beyond public perception. Finding a way to honor their friendship became a silent mission. Behind the scenes, they worked around these tensions with mutual respect, often masking their true feelings for the sake of the ensemble. Winkler, surprisingly, resisted offers to shift the spotlight entirely to himself. Howard stood firm on protecting the show's identity, even threatening to walk away if changes were made. Both acts were quieter than headlines would expect, but spoke volumes about their character. Their story wasn't about confrontation, but about choices rarely understood by fans and critics alike. This hidden conflict was never expressed with anger or resentment, but was intertwined with moments of care and support. When Ron decided to leave the show and pursue directing, he called Henry first, a sign of the trust still intact despite years of pressure. Winkler's initial fear for his own career gave way to encouragement, showing that the complicated feelings between them did not sever the connection. Friendships in Hollywood are rare and fragile, but theirs survived because honesty and loyalty stood above everything else. Their silence was not absence, but protection for each other and their shared history. Transitioning from the complexities of fame and friendship, it's impossible to separate Winkler's journey from the challenges he faced growing up and learning to thrive in a world that often misunderstood him. Henry Winkler's early struggles. Henry Winkler did not follow a typical path to stardom. Born in Manhattan to German immigrant parents, he grew up in a household where academic success was deeply valued. Unfortunately, Henry struggled to meet these expectations, not from lack of effort, but because he suffered from dyslexia, a condition not widely recognized or understood during his youth. His difficulties in reading and writing were often mistaken for laziness or lack of intelligence by those around him, including his own family. Despite these hardships, Winkler's passion for performance kept him moving forward. He found refuge and expression in acting, an area where he could listen, observe, and improvise without the limitations that troubled him with traditional learning. His ability to memorize lines was challenged, so he developed an intense focus on rhythms, reactions, and presence. This resilience became a defining feature of both his craft and character. He went on to earn a master's degree from the Yale School of Drama, refining his skills in an environment that nurtured creativity and discipline. Yet, scripts and reading assignments remained difficult hurdles. Winkler had to adapt continually, relying heavily on listening and improvisation during rehearsals. His struggles demanded a unique approach that set him apart from his peers, but also made him strong in ways others weren't. These early experiences deeply influenced the way Winkler connected with his roles and colleagues. He became exceptionally attuned to the energy in a room, quick to respond and hold attention without always needing to rely on written lines. His survival skills as an actor translated into personal resilience too, as he maneuvered an industry that wasn't always welcoming or forgiving of difference. Above all, Winkler learned to protect his self-worth through determination and creativity. His challenges were never the story he chose to lead with publicly during his early career. Instead, he allowed his characters and performances to speak for themselves, especially the role that would launch him into fame. Yet, behind Fonzy's confident facade was a man who had fought hard to find his voice, often in silence. His perseverance in the face of difficulty set the stage for the complexities that would emerge in his relationship with Ron Howard. Winkler's background also helped shape the empathy and loyalty for which he would become known. Understanding struggle from a young age made him protective of the teams he worked with, valuing ensemble over individual spotlight. This outlook would later influence his decision to reject offers that might have elevated him at the expense of others. His loyalty was not just personal. It was grounded in a deep respect for fairness and mutual support. It was during the early years in Los Angeles that these traits found their most visible expression. As a newcomer, auditioning for a small role on a new show, Winkler was stepping into unfamiliar territory. The uncertainty he felt then was no doubt colored by all the battles he had faced before that moment. Yet, his determination and adaptability allowed him to hold his ground in what would become one of television's biggest successes. Transitioning from Henry's personal journey brings focus to Ron Howard's early career, revealing the foundation upon which their partnership was built. Ron Howard's established career. Ron Howard was no stranger to the camera when he and Henry Winkler first met. By the early 70s, he was already a television veteran, having grown up in the industry with steady roles on shows like The Andy Griffith Show. His experience gave him a familiarity and confidence that most newcomers lacked. As the lead of the new sitcom Happy Days, Howard carried the pressure of keeping the show grounded in its early days. Unlike Winkler, who was only just arriving in Los Angeles, Howard had the background of a child star and the stability of a steady career behind him. This gave him an edge in understanding how television production worked, the demands of live audiences, and the expectations of executives. He was the recognized face on the show's posters and the name viewers expected to associate with success. The mantle of leadership wasn't just symbolic. It was professional and deeply felt. Howard's sense of responsibility extended beyond the screen. On set, he took on a role that was part actor, part guide, helping Henry learn the nuances of working in front of a camera. Their ages were about 10 years apart, and Howard became something like a big brother figure to Winkler. This mentorship helped turn Winkler's stage training and improvisation skills into something that worked within the television format. Their collaboration went beyond simple professionalism into genuine friendship. Ron's career until that point had been marked by consistency rather than sudden breakthrough. Though successful, he wasn't yet the director he would later become. His focus was steady and centered on building a solid position in Hollywood, which made changes to the show's dynamics a sensitive issue. Howard's leadership was challenged when the show started to shift toward Winkler's character. The stakes were not only professional, but deeply personal. Despite having the early lead, Howard understood the importance of the ensemble and the chemistry that made Happy Days popular. He was protective of the show's identity and wary of moves that might fragment the group. This mindset would play a major role in how he reacted to proposals that threatened to change everything, including renaming the show after Fonzy. The confidence and clarity with which he handled those moments reflected his experience and determination. Howard's status on set gave him leverage in negotiations with network executives, allowing him to draw firm lines when necessary. His threat to leave the series and return to film school if the title was changed was a pivotal moment, one that revealed just how deeply he valued the show's integrity. Yet it also exposed underlying tensions between him and Winkler that had been simmering. These tensions were far from bitter. They were rooted in a shared goal of protecting what made the series work. As they worked together, a creative partnership blossomed, with Howard's grounding presence balancing Winkler's spontaneous energy. Both actors brought something unique that the other lacked, creating characters that audiences would remember for decades. But beneath this public success, the shifting power dynamics raised questions about identity and recognition on both sides. It was a delicate situation requiring trust and careful navigation. With their beginnings set, the story moves to the moment when two very different actors found common ground and created something lasting: the birth of a partnership. When Henry Winkler arrived on the set of Happy Days in 1973, he was a newcomer in a world that felt both intimidating and full of possibility. Ron Howard, already a seasoned actor, took on the role of a mentor, helping Henry understand the unique demands of television acting. Winkler's background was rooted in theater, where spontaneity and improvisation were prized. But on a television set, timing and technical cues reigned supreme. This early exchange of skills laid the foundation for a creative partnership that blended the best of both worlds. Their collaboration was more than just work. It became a genuine friendship. Henry later described Ron as something like a big brother, someone who offered guidance without judgment or pressure. For Winkler, this was crucial as he navigated early insecurities, compounded by his reading challenges. Ron's steady presence gave him confidence to push beyond his self-doubt. Together, they found a rhythm that made their scenes feel natural and electric, sparking the kind of chemistry viewers couldn't ignore. The show itself was designed to evoke nostalgia, but the actors brought fresh energy and personalities that made the characters distinct. Winkler impressed with his ability to bring warmth and humor to Fonzy, a character who at first was just a supporting role. Ron balanced this with his steady portrayal of Richie Cunningham, the heart of the original concept. This balance kept the show grounded while allowing for surprises that energized audiences season after season. Behind the scenes, their friendship softened the challenges that came with sudden fame. Winkler once confided in the feeling of holding a script and doubting himself so deeply that he needed to hide away. Ron's gesture of support, putting an arm around Winkler's shoulder, was small but powerful. It set a tone of trust and loyalty that would carry through decades. This wasn't just a professional working relationship. It was the start of a bond that weathered highs and lows. As the cameras rolled, they fed off each other's strengths. Ron's experience translated into calm patience, while Henry's improvisational instincts kept scenes fresh. This interplay became central to the enduring popularity of Happy Days. Their characters' friendship reflected their real-life connection, creating an authenticity that audiences felt. It was rare to see such seamless synergy so early in a partnership. Yet, this creative exchange also hinted at complexities yet to unfold. While their friendship grew, the undercurrent of shifting recognition and rising fame began to stir quietly. Winkler's natural charisma started drawing more spotlight, and Howard had to manage not just his own position, but the evolving dynamics between them. Their personal connection was a buffer, but couldn't erase the pressures around them. This period forged a deep mutual respect that shaped many key decisions on set. Both understood the importance of protecting the show and each other's contributions. They were partners in more than acting. They were collaborators in preserving something special amid the unpredictability of television's success. Their friendship wasn't based on competition, but on shared goals and unspoken understanding. The momentum built by this partnership led directly into a period where Henry Winkler's Fonzy transformed from a side character to a cultural icon, reshaping the show's dynamics. Fonzy's unexpected stardom. As Happy Days found its footing, something remarkable happened. Henry Winkler's Fonzy captured the audience's imagination like no one expected. What began as a small supporting role quickly became the breakout star of the series. From the moment Fonzy stepped into the scene, his cool confidence and signature thumbs up became a phenomenon. The cheers from live audiences often stopped scenes cold, signaling a shift in the show's center of gravity. Fan mail flooded in, and children everywhere mimicked Fonzy's style and mannerisms. His instantly recognizable leather jacket and easy charm turned him into a role model of sorts, especially among younger viewers. This surge in popularity shifted the attention away from Ron Howard's character and onto Winkler's. It was a surprise even to the actors themselves, and threw the production into uncharted territory. The network took notice and began suggesting changes that reflected Fonzy's rise. At one point, executives floated the idea of renaming the series Fonzy's Happy Days, banking on the character's newfound star power. For Ron Howard, who had been the show's lead and face from the start, this was a serious blow. The proposed title change threatened to eclipse his role and the original vision for the show. Ron confronted the network with a clear warning. If the title changed, he would leave the series and return to film school to pursue directing full-time. This ultimatum made it clear how deeply personal and professional the situation had become. Behind the scenes, the success of Fonzy was creating tensions that neither Winkler nor Howard openly aired. It was a moment that demanded both courage and loyalty. Surprisingly, Henry Winkler did not seize the chance to step fully into the spotlight. Despite having everything to gain, he refused to support the title change. Winkler believed a shift like that would disrespect the ensemble cast and the collective effort that made the show work. His decision reflected a rare selflessness in an industry often driven by ego. This gesture went beyond simple camaraderie. It was a powerful act of loyalty that few noticed at the time. The show's creator, Gary Marshall, agreed with Winkler's perspective, and the series kept its original name. This moment of standing together preserved the show's identity and reinforced the friendship between Winkler and Howard. It was a delicate balance of ambition and respect, and for Winkler, a chance to put principles before personal gain. The choice also meant accepting that the spotlight would shift, but the foundation beneath them remained shared. Fonzy's rise brought new challenges for the cast and crew. It tested relationships and forced everyone to confront what success meant on both professional and emotional levels. For Winkler, it was a confirmation that playing Fonzy was both a blessing and a responsibility. Meanwhile, Howard had to reconcile his changing role with his own ambitions and dreams beyond acting. Their friendship faced real trials as the show adapted to its own unexpected popularity. Yet even in the midst of this upheaval, the bond between Winkler and Howard endured. They continued to work closely as the show thrived, navigating shifts in power and attention with a growing understanding of each other's needs. The applause might have grown louder for Fonzy, but behind that noise was a friendship willing to face its own complexities head-on. The evolution of Fonzy's star power sets the stage for the critical decisions around the show's future, including the controversy over its title and what those choices revealed about Henry Winkler's values. The title controversy and loyalty. As Fonzy's popularity soared, network executives saw an opportunity to capitalize on this sudden star power. They proposed renaming the hit show Happy Days to Fonzy's Happy Days, believing it would attract even more viewers and highlight the breakout success. For many in television, this seemed like a natural next step. After all, Fonzy had become the heart of the series for many fans. But this suggestion sparked a serious dilemma behind the scenes, testing loyalties and values in ways no one anticipated. Ron Howard, who had been the show's lead since the beginning, was blindsided by the proposal. The idea that the show's identity would shift, and with it, the focus and credit, felt like a direct threat to all he had worked for. Ron didn't hesitate to make his stance clear. He warned the executives that if the show's title changed, he would walk away and return to film school to chase his dream of becoming a director. The ultimatum was a rare and resolute assertion of his professional and personal feelings. What makes this situation remarkable is the choice made by Henry Winkler in this moment of potential glory. Having the chance to fully embrace the spotlight and even reshape the show's identity, Henry did something unexpected. He refused to support changing the title. Winkler believed such a change would dishonor the entire ensemble and the spirit of collaboration that had brought the show to life. His decision wasn't just about protecting Ron. It was about standing up for fairness and unity in an industry that often rewards self-interest. This act of loyalty surprised many, especially considering that Winkler personally stood to gain the most from the title change. But Henry's perspective was shaped by years of working hard, knowing what it meant to be part of a team. The show's creator, Gary Marshall, shared Winkler's view, agreeing that the series should keep its original name. Together, they helped preserve the integrity of the show and the respect between its cast members. Winkler's choice revealed a humility and self-awareness that contrasted sharply with what many assumed would be a ruthless battle for fame. Instead of grabbing for the spotlight, he placed the collective success above his own rise. That decision would have lasting effects on his friendship with Ron Howard and the direction of the series itself. It underscored a commitment to values rarely discussed publicly, but clearly felt deeply between the men. The network's backing of the original title helped calm tensions temporarily, but the underlying dynamics between Winkler and Howard were forever altered. Both actors understood what was at stake, not just career-wise, but emotionally. Winkler's refusal to capitalize on Fonzy's fame preserved a level of trust that would serve as a foundation in the face of future challenges. It was proof that their friendship was more than a casual alliance. The bond they nurtured through loyalty and respect set the stage for what happened when Ron decided to step away from acting to pursue his true passion. Ron's departure and its impact. In 1980, Ron Howard stunned many when he decided to leave Happy Days to focus entirely on directing, a dream he had harbored for years. Before the news went public, he called Henry Winkler, reaching him at a phone booth near the stage. This private moment between them was charged with emotion and unspoken fears. Winkler's first thought, as he later admitted, was that his own career might be finished without Ron by his side. This called into focus just how intertwined their professional and personal journeys had become. The phone call itself was simple but profound. Ron confided in Henry, seeking support rather than advice or permission. Winkler, trusting his friend's instincts, chose encouragement over hesitation. He told Ron to go after his dream, even though it meant the show and their dynamic would change forever. This moment of unconditional support demonstrated the strength of their friendship beneath years of complicated feelings and public success. For Ron, that call was pivotal. Years later, he credited Winkler's encouragement as the confirmation he needed to believe he was making the right choice. It wasn't just about a career shift. It was about having someone believe in him without question, someone who didn't let ego or fear complicate the moment. That phone booth conversation was a quiet milestone, marking the end of one chapter and the hopeful beginning of another. The decision sent ripples through the show and the cast. Losing its original lead could have spelled disaster, but Winkler's steady presence helped the series continue. Their friendship proved resilient, weathering the significant change without shattering. It was a testament to the foundation they had built, a foundation not of rivalry, but of respect and shared history. In the years that followed, both men pursued their paths fully. Ron went on to become one of Hollywood's most successful directors, while Winkler embraced new roles that showcased his range and depth. Their careers diverged, yet their friendship remained a constant thread. This was no ordinary bond. It was one forged in honesty, sacrifice, and an understanding few shared. Though decades passed with occasional silence around their complicated history, the connection endured. The truth about their feelings, their sacrifices, and the impact of fame was eventually shared openly with their families, adding a new layer of transparency and healing. This long silence was never about bitterness, but about protecting something valuable. Their story, marked by moments like the supportive phone call, reveals how friendship can survive the pressures of Hollywood and the temptations of ego. For both men, choosing loyalty over resentment made all the difference. It was a rare example of personal integrity thriving in a world often defined by conflict. As their journey continued, the honesty they eventually embraced reshaped their connection, proving that time and truth can heal even the most complicated of relationships. Truths shared after decades. Decades after Happy Days ended, Henry Winkler and Ron Howard finally sat down together with their daughters, Bryce Dallas Howard and Zoe Winkler, to talk openly about the complicated feelings that had shadowed their friendship. It was a conversation marked not by blame or resentment, but by honest admissions and heartfelt listening. Ron revealed that Fonzy's unexpected rise had indeed hurt his feelings, an acknowledgement not offered as an accusation, but as the simple truth. Henry listened, understanding that this was a moment of vulnerability that deepened their connection rather than fractured it. This rare openness was a turning point after nearly 50 years of silences and silenced emotions. For both men, decades of navigating fame, success, and shifting roles had built walls as well as bridges. Their willingness to share these truths with each other and with their families showed profound maturity and respect. It was a reminder that even the most enduring friendships carry complexities that only time can unravel. Their story defies the usual Hollywood narrative of rivalries and grudges. Instead, it reveals two people who chose honesty over comfort, loyalty over ego, and understanding over resentment. Theirs was a friendship tested by circumstance, but strengthened by choice. It was about making space for imperfection, embracing difficult emotions, and valuing relationship above reputation. Over the years, the pair carried the weight of unspoken feelings, feelings that could have easily torn them apart, but instead became part of the fabric that held them together. Henry had no idea for decades what his encouragement meant to Ron when he decided to leave acting and pursue directing. Likewise, Ron never hid the pangs his friend's rising fame stirred inside him until this late, candid moment. Their shared history gained new depth by finally acknowledging what had long been beneath the surface. This honesty also kind of stretched beyond the two friends and into their daughters, like it bridged generations. Sharing their story with Bryce Dallas Howard, and Zoe Winkler made this sort of space for empathy and understanding inside their families, not just at the surface. It let the next generation watch a friendship built on resilience, not rivalry. And the effects of this sincere telling went way farther than Hollywood sets or those loud media headlines. Their relationship really shows how transparency can patch up wounds that fame and ambition leave behind. It's a proof, almost, of how communication can bring trust back and renew bonds, even when things felt stuck. In an industry that's often stirred up by competition and fleeting alliances, Winkler and Howard's story, it basically reminds us that real friendship still takes courage, especially when you have to deal with uncomfortable truths. At the end, their journey wasn't about being perfect friends, but about being honest ones. It's about the choice to lean into human connection in a world that sometimes worships success more than kindness. Their story teaches us loyalty can mean stepping back, speaking up, or just listening with an open heart. That's what kept their bond alive for a lifetime. Over years of ups and downs, silence and confession, their friendship endured because it sat on those same principles. They demonstrated that even the complicated relationships can still grow when honesty is welcomed and ego is set aside. It's a story not often told, but deeply needed, a quiet celebration of friendship's real, sometimes messy nature. Henry Winkler and Ron Howard's friendship teaches us that loyalty, honesty, and understanding can outlast fame and fortune. Their story shows the power of choosing respect over ego, even in Hollywood's toughest moments. If this story moved you, please like the video and subscribe for more compelling tales behind the screens.